Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose with Metalholic Magazine and Metal Nation Radio, and joining me all the way from Sweden, my brother from Manimal, Samuel Nyman. How you doing, man?
I'm fine, thank you. Very well. Glad to be on the show.
It has been far, far too long, like 5-6 years since the last time we talked.
Yeah, I know. But we've been around all the time. We haven't been lying in bed waiting for the years to go, actually. We have been writing material all the time. We have been doing some touring and shows, and also looking for two new band members since the Menser brothers left us a couple of years ago. No hard feelings at all, but nevertheless, we had to replace them with two new guys, and that also took us some time to find. We've been here.
Well, let's talk about all of that stuff. It has been 6 years since you guys released The Darkest Room, which was a phenomenal record. When The Darkest Room came out, it went to number 36 on the Swedish charts immediately, and I can't find the charts to read them. How is Trapped in the Shadows doing so far in your home country?
It's doing great. We haven't received the first sales numbers yet, but both the record company and our distributor says that the sales has been great. With today, you don't sell CDs.
You're right. We don't sell CDs the way we used to. A lot of it's digital now, and unfortunately, a lot of people steal the music.
Yeah, and I think if we just speak about that a little bit, because I don't want to judge people. I think bands like ours who are trying to climb on the career ladder, I think maybe it's partly the most important thing is that people listen to the music and hopefully show up at our shows. But nevertheless, if the product doesn't generate any money, then it's hard to convince your record company to invest in you, invest in tours, and invest in another album. So it's still pretty important for us to that people actually buy the product and pay for it, because and I think people talking about the record company, they take the main part of the sales, and yeah, maybe they do, but at the same time, the artist has signed a contract that tells you exactly how much you will get, the artist will get, and how much the record company will get. So I think that is, it's no argument for not buying a CD or buying an album digitally. I think it's very important actually that people pay for the product, because if we had valued the man hours we have put down in this album, I don't want to think about how much the cost would be.
It would be nice if the art that you create, if the art that all bands or artists create could be given away for free. I mean, I'm sure artists would love to be able to do that. Here, take it. We made this for you guys to enjoy. But you have to be able to sustain yourself. And obviously, this isn't like the 70s and the 80s where you can put out one album and live free for the rest of your life on the millions you make on that. No. It just doesn't work that way anymore. And we're not going to have any more great new music if we don't sustain it. How do you feel about stuff like Kickstarter or pledge campaigns or Indiegogo, stuff like that?
I think it's really great because the audience decide what they want to put their money on, and also how much. I think those ideas are great, and I think that's probably a part of the future now when maybe record companies, they're playing another part in the business than they did back 20 years ago. So I like those ideas. We have lots of colleagues, friends in the business who are been able to release DVDs on the maybe a whole show on the YouTube for free because they got their fans to finance it, and therefore they were able to do this project, and so I like those ideas. I think it's great that they are there and that they are working.
Well, and it's interesting that, years ago, obviously, there was that whole mystique of the rock star and everything. Now Now everything is more DIY, and there's that more social fan interaction. So you can maybe take advantage of that by getting the fans to support you directly because they have that connection to you, whereas before there was that distance. So, and I think we're moving more towards that. And a lot of bands, like you said, are having great success with it. And the fans are willing to support the bands that they truly believe in. So, you know, I just think it's a natural human instinct. If we can get something for free that we want, why not? But by the same token, I think most of us still want to support the bands that we believe in, you know. Anyway, so let's talk, you know, The Darkest Room was a very dark album. It was a fantastic record. Trapped in the Shadows still has some darkness to it, but it's definitely got more energy and light to it, I think. It's been 6 years, as we said. There's been a progression in your sound. You guys have grown as musicians and songwriters. How do you see the difference between the two records?
I think it's mainly focused more on the guitar riffs and even more on the vocal harmonies. And also we have developed this thing that we started on the first album with trying different rhythms. We don't want two songs to sound exactly the same. Therefore, we try with different rhythms and tempos, and I think we have focused on that even more on this album. So the main difference, I would say, besides the songwriting, which we have taken to another level, I think. But besides that, it's the focus on the vocal harmonies and the guitar riffs that maybe is the difference between the first and the second album.
And you, as you alluded to before, you have a new rhythm section with Andre and Kenny. What have they brought to the process this time that has changed sort of the dynamic a little bit?
I think when it comes to Andre, he's like made for these type of songs. He's like when he's drumming. I remember when we recorded the drums for the album, he was like a drum machine. He was almost never off beat when we recorded, and I was so impressed by his work. And so I think for these songs in this album, they have meant the whole difference, both Kenny and Andre, because they are so good musicians and also nice guys to hang out with, and that is even more important because you are going to spend so much time together in rehearsal room, in tour buses, and so it's very important that you click with these guys, and we really do. We are like a family, and I think they have made Manimal sound a little bit more aggressive, a bit more heavy, and I think these songs on this album, they needed that, so it was the perfect match with these two guys. Yeah.
Well, and you can really hear the cohesiveness on the record. And, you know, when The Darkest Room came out, you guys got notice and stuff with that album. But with this one already, you guys have already gotten so much more attention, I think. And all the reviews that I've read, including my own, have been very complimentary of the album. You made our top 10 of our top 50 albums for 2015. And a lot of people have taken notice with this record. So I think you guys have to be pretty happy with the response so far.
Yeah, of course. You're always a bit... Mainly we do music for ourselves. We do music that we love to listen to ourselves. But nevertheless, when you put down 6 years of hard work, heart and soul into one album, of course you're a bit nervous about how it will be received by the audience and media. So of course we're very happy that people like this album. They seem to like this album as much as we do. So and that is of course a reward for us to get after these years of hard work. It's really great.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break here on Metal Nation Radio. We're going to be back with more from Sam Nyman and Manimal, and now we're going to take you into the dark. All right, and we're back here on Metal Nation Radio. You just heard Scream out from the new Manimal album, Trapped in the Shadows. We're hanging out with Sam Nyman. I want to talk about some of the songs on the album. We can't talk about all the tracks on the album, obviously, but let's talk about 2 or 3 of them. The first one that you sort of put out there, you guys made the video for, Irresistible. Fantastic song. It had a lot of that classic old school, like Priest, Accept-ish sort of riffing and everything going on. It looked like you had a ball making that video.
Yeah, it was really fun making. We made it on a really small, tight budget, but I don't think the viewer can tell, because we really borrowed stuff and we built stuff, and you know, it's everything you see in the video is made by ourselves or borrowed from a friend of ours, and we had this guy, Chris Westerstrom, an American guy living here in Sweden now, and he's working with film productions, and he helped us out with this, and he put down his soul into this, and it turned out so great, the video. And the song itself is what we would like to call our tribute to Judas Priest, and our tribute to Painkiller, the album that the all 4 of us love so much. So we didn't want to hide the influences on that song. We said that, okay, this is our tribute to Priest. Let it sound like the Priest. So
and it
did.
And
it turned out great. We love the song, and it's got a heavy riff and pretty catchy refrain that sticks.
Yeah, I really love that you did get that Painkiller vibe really well on that song. One of the other songs on the album that really appealed to me was Screaming Out, because it had this great emotive balance. It was very dark. And the children's choir. Tell us a little bit about that song. Did you plan on the children's choir all along? Give us the backstory.
Yeah. I had a vision of this children's choir. I wanted because, you know, when you see horror movies, always when there's children involved, it gets a kind of creepy feeling about it. When you get these opposites with in this case with Screaming Out, with my voice and the children's choir, a song that is pretty dark and pretty dark lyrics, and you got the children's choir. Then the children's choir, it gives you a bit of a creepy feeling. That was the main goal for that. So I had this vision of a children's choir on the song. I know that Henrik was very skeptic all the way to the end, but when he heard the result, he said that yeah, it works, and it definitely does something for the song. And actually it's my daughter and her friend who sings on the album, on the song.
Oh wow!
It's these 2 girls. I brought them to the studio and they recorded. So she's 8 years old, my daughter, and she's very proud of have been a part of her father's album, of course. And it turned out really well. I really like the vibe that the children's choir brings to it, and the whole song, I think, it's a great balance between great harmonics and melodies and also some heaviness, and it's probably one of the softer songs on the album, if I may use that expression. But it turned out great.
Softer, yes, but because of the dark tone, it still has this amazing heaviness to it. Now, speaking of softer, and I would be remiss if I obviously didn't bring up The Journey, you got Udo Dirkschneider on this track. Was that something you guys sort of thought about at the beginning, or was that something that came later? How did you end up reaching out to Udo?
Yeah, after we came back from touring with Udo, we wrote this song, and I wouldn't say we had Udo in mind when we wrote the song, but we had in mind that it was supposed to be a duet. The lyrics was written as if it was 2 characters singing and playing two parts in the song. But when we started to think about who we wanted to play this other part and making this duet with me, Udo was on top of our list. And since we share the same publisher and record company as Udo. We sent the song to him and asked if he would like to record it, and he said, "Sure, I like the song, I'll do it." And yeah, it's like a dream come true for us. We've all been listening to the early Accept albums when we were young, so now to have this childhood idol of ours on our own album is like a dream come true, and the song turned out really well. We didn't want to pick a song and have Udo singing on it, a song which sound like an Accept song or an Udo song. We wanted him to sing on something that he doesn't do on regular basis.
Right.
So we think this the song that fits him really well, and me personally, I love Udo hasn't done many ballads through the years, but I think he does it really well, and I think many people aren't aware about that. They know Udo as the guy who's has his characteristic voice and sound, right. and that people love that, but many people are not aware that Udo has other dimensions too, and I think how he does this first part of the song, the softer part, I love it. I love it.
Well, that sort of takes me into one of my last questions here then. Yesterday, Metalholic released its top 25 women in hard rock and metal, and it made me wonder, after hearing you do the song with Udo, would you ever do a duet or a song with a female singer? And if so, who might you like to work with?
That would be cool. The first female singer of rock and metal that I get to think about is Doro Pesch, actually. That would be cool. I have met her once when she played here in Gothenburg. Me and Henrik, together with the CEO of our publisher, we went to see the show, and afterwards we got to meet her. She was such a nice person, so warm and on top of that, this raw, cool rock voice she has. So spontaneously, I would say Doro Pesch then.
Yeah, and she's such a very genuine person. And she loves doing stuff like that, duets and everything. Especially, I talked to her last year, as she has a special affinity for Scandinavian bands. So,
okay,
maybe for the next album, on our side, you should reach out. So,
yeah, perhaps, right. Yeah.
So, you guys are getting ready to go out here shortly with Orden Ogen, huge tour there. That's fantastic news. Any chance this time around you might make it over to North America at all?
We hope so. Nothing planned yet, but it would be a dream come true, actually, to get overseas and play America. It would be really a dream come true. Of course, like the most metal bands, we hope that someday we get to play the mighty Prog Power USA festival, of course.
Yes.
That would be really cool. Some of our friends here in the business has been there, and they say that it's a great festival, and the vibe is so cool, and the tour in the US would be, it would be a dream. USA and Japan is still, in these days, a dream and a goal for us, and someday we'll make it. I hope it will be really soon, maybe this year, next year. I don't know, but nothing planned at this moment, unfortunately.
So the last question before we get out of here for fun, just to get to know more about you.
Yeah.
Give us 3 albums that were maybe pivotal albums in developing who you are as a singer, musician, songwriter, maybe the flag post that sort of informed your path musically.
Okay, I would say Judas Priest, Painkiller. That album has meant a lot to me. I have listened to it, I don't know, thousands of times. And still today, I think it's maybe one of the best metal albums of all time. Also, Queensryche has been a great influence to me, and Jeff Tate as a singer and Queensryche as a band. So I would say probably the Rage for Order album is the one that I have played the most. So Queensryche, Rage for Order. And the third album I would pick would probably be Dream Theater's Images and Words. Such a great mix of melodies, harmonies, and heaviness. I think it's a superb album.
Fantastic choices all. There's definitely a very Queensryche theme, a little bit, flavor going on in a number of the tracks on Trapped in the Shadows, too, along with that old school sort of Priest Accept feel. Fantastic album, Trapped in Shadows. Samuel Nyman of Manimal, thank you so much for taking a little bit to chat with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rustin, for having me.
All right, so which track from the album should we play on the way out the door?
Okay, then I would pick Psychopomp, because it's the last track of the album. I think it has everything. It has softer parts, it has heavy parts, fast parts, slow parts. It has everything. It's one of my favorites on the album, and I hope that people who listen to the whole album, that they don't stop listening until they have listened to the last song. We didn't put it last because we thought that it was the less good song or something. We just put it last because we thought that it was a great ending of the album. So I would say Psychopomp.
Absolutely. Psychopomp from Trapped in the Shadows. The album is already out in Europe. It's coming out on the 22nd in North America. Sam, again, thanks so much for taking the time. And here's some Manimal for you on Metal Nation Radio.